Hello everyone, I'm Heather and I'm back for what will definitely not be a quick video. Like, it's the 26 random questions tag and like we know how much I ramble just with like 5 questions. Like, I'm gonna try to cut this shit down. I'm gonna do my best. Like Bert's one, I was tagged in this by Bert and his one was quite quick. Like, it was still funny, it was still like good, you know, but it was quick. Though the original tag is by David Murphy, I think, and watching his one, it was like 45 minutes, so I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try not to make that happen, but I cannot guarantee shit, okay? Like, I do have to wee a little bit. I don't know if that's too much information, but I was thinking, should I wee before I do the video, or should I wee after? And I'm thinking, because I have to wee, is it gonna make me like go faster? You know, give me like a bit of an extra sense of urgency to help me through this quickly? I don't know, we can only hope. So, first one, straight into it. What was your most recent YouTube rabbit hole? Okay? And like, I will say, I haven't really looked and thought about these like super intensely. So hopefully that will also help to cut the time down, because if I haven't thought about it for ages, I won't have enough stuff to ramble about, is like my thinking. But I did watch both Bert's tag and David Murphy's original version, so I have had a bit of a think about them. So what was your most recent YouTube rabbit hole? It's Lucy Desi interview videos from the 60s and 70s. Okay, I know this is weird, but I've been like a die-hard I Love Lucy super fan since I was about 11 years old. I love Lucy, it's my favourite show. And like her other shows, okay, I've seen them, you know, like Lucy shows, stuff like that. Like, they're okay, they're not as good. They're not like my faves, but I've never really delved into other appearances of them on TV, like afterward or whatever. Like, there's not a lot of appearances on TV for them before then, because TV was really just sort of like kicking off at that time, so there's not a lot before that. But after that, like 60s, 70s, 80s, like interview shows, Letterman, Johnny Carson, like, you know, like What's My Line, Password, game shows, shit like this, like they're all over them and they're funny as shit. Like Desi Arnaz on Letterman, you know, like he's the ultimate dirty grandpa. He's like a dirty old man, and I want him to be like my grandpa, so he can like tell me really inappropriate stories about Cuba. Anyway, I've been loving that. And like, I originally found it through, you know, this like new movie about the Ricardos that's popped up on Prime or something with like Nicole Kidman and like Javier Bardem. Like, I watched that first of all, and it's okay. Like, I don't like Nicole Kidman's depiction of Lucille Ball. Like, I don't think it fits properly, but like, whatever, that's just me. But as I looked things on YouTube about it, then all these other things started popping up, and I'm like, where has this been all my life? Please Google it. It's so good. Okay. Anyway, number 2. What song is currently stuck in your head? Okay, and this one, new sort of Eurovision stuff is coming out for this year. Like, it's in May every year. And some of the acts are starting to sort of like announce what their songs and everything is going to be. So I was looking at that, and then I was like, well, now we have to listen to like all of the classics from years before. And you know, this one, like, I don't know if you know it, like maybe you don't know it, like if you're not into Eurovision you don't know it, but there's one, like I think like Stella Mwangi or something like that, from I think 2011. I think it's the year that I moved to the UK and started watching Eurovision. And it's like Haba Haba Uchasaki Baba. Like, I'm doing it wrong, but it's a bop, okay? I'm gonna put a link to that below as well, because do yourself a favor and listen to that song. It's nuts and I love it. Okay. Number 3. What kind of music do you listen to the most? Okay, so David Murphy and his thing, he, like, the initial like inspiration for this question was that people think they listen to a certain kind of thing, but end up they listen way more to something else, you know? It's like, it goes behind the radar that they listen to that so much, and it's because he sort of like thought of this when the Spotify wrap-ups came out. And this is true of me. Like, I always feel like I listen to things like, you know, like dance pop, you know, like I'm always having like a dance party or whatever, like with friends or just by myself or with Spud, whatever. But it turns out from my Spotify wrap-up that the thing I listen to absolutely most is country music. And like 8,000 different kinds, you know, like 80s, 90s country music, you know, classic country music, you know, 50s, 60s, shit like that. Like bluegrass, you know, it's hitting the bluegrass pretty hard. And this is not something I really understood about myself properly until recently. Anyway, okay, number 4. What is something you need to get better at? Something you need to get better at. Oh, fuck, this one's actually good. I might need to come back to this one. Something I need to get better at. Just like so many things. So many fucking things. Like maybe like coping with mundane, like repetitive life. Do you know what I mean? Things like waking up and making your bed every day. Like I can't cope with making my bed because I made my bed the day before, the day before that, and the day before that, and like I'm probably gonna make my bed the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Like, why are we just waking up and making our bed? All this time we're spending, we're just gonna get back in the bed. Do you know what I mean? Are we just gonna like wake up and make our bed every day until we die? Is this just what we do? You know, we wake up, we make our bed, we eat food, we sit down to work. You know, we get like life as it progresses, just in like normal Groundhog Day fashion. Like I'm having really hard time coping with that, and I have done my whole life. And as I get older, I just realize there's no fighting it. I just need to be better at coping with that. Like vacuuming. Like I cannot for my life bring myself to vacuum because I just recently vacuumed. Why is it dirty again? You know, am I just going to be vacuuming and vacuuming and vacuuming and vacuuming until I die? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, okay, number 5. Do you set goals? What are your goals for the end of the year, next year, blah, blah, blah. So I think anyone who's watched my videos like in the last couple of months or whatever, my main goal for this year is to knock down the reading piles in my house. Like there's huge piles of books that I bought that I was going to read at the time and still haven't read. Like I have 160 something books in my house, which are just sitting there. I haven't read them. And then I still get more. Why do I do that? So my plan for this year is to buy very few books and to instead knock my reading piles down to less than 100 unread books in my house. Okay. Number 6. When was the last time you lost your temper? Oh, fuck. Like, this morning? like both Bert and, oh, I watched Silje's one of this as well. Silje, tagged Bert. So all 3 of them were like, no, we're quite mild. We don't really lose our temper, like, which I love. And I love them for it. But I 100% do not do that. Like, this morning, I think is the last time I lost my temper. Like, Spud and her fucking shoes. Jesus God. We have to be to a place, school. One has to go to school for a time. One needs shoes. One needs shoes to get to the place for a time. How many times do I have to say, one needs shoes? Put your shoes on, you know? I can say it in Welsh as well, you know, trying to skid you. Like, she understands both. Why is she not doing it? Or, why is she, like, fucking around, putting it on really slowly? You know, like, shoes. Like, no, mate. Okay? We have to be to a place for a time. Oh my God. Anyway, what's the next one? Oh my God, no. That's not even the last time I lost my temper. The latest time I lost my temper was on my bike. Just recently. Like, oh my God. Like, how dare I, as a person who rides a bike, also do on the road? You know? Like, it's a road, mate. Like, you have to share the road, you know? Like, the whole point of a road is that people with wheels can drive on it. You know, like, am I hurting you by also riding on the road? Like, this guy, he was like, you are in front of me. I don't like that you're in front of me. I need to go around you very quickly. But then someone came out again, and I had to slam on the brakes, and then like, why endanger people's lives like that? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, go on the sidewalk? Can't go on the sidewalk. There are people there, you know? Like, oh my God. Like, I really wish I was a person who didn't lose my temper as much as I do. But I think, like, in my 30s, I've just, like, learned to embrace who I am as a person. Like, things that are bad and things that are good. And I am a person that has, like a firework temper, okay? Like, I go from, like, nothing to a million really fast. Like, a firework just goes up, explodes, like, loudly in everyone's face, and then just, like, immediately fizzles, you know? Like, loads of people I know, they carry on, like, a lot of, like, intense grudges, you know? Or, like, they have a lot of, like, seething anger that just lives under the surface for ages, you know? And you think it's gone, but then it shows itself later, and you're like, shit, that was about 3 months ago that happened. I thought we were cool with this now, but you obviously have been carrying that white hot anger under the surface for ages. Like, I don't do that, you know? Like, I explode and then immediately feel regret and remorse. And like, if I can just stop myself from exploding for like a good 10, 20 minutes, whatever, if I just leave and come back, I know I'm out of the danger zone and I'm not going to do anything I regret, you know what I mean? But then those times I do anyway, and then I have to come back and grovel and be like, I apologize for saying what I said and blowing up in your face. That was not kind and disrespectful to you. Anyway, that's that. I'm already rambling. I've got so many questions left. Number 7, do you swear too much? Yes. Obviously. So, David Murphy, the guy who originally like made this tag, he was talking about him. And he said he doesn't swear a lot, which is cool, you know, no problem. But he said maybe one of the reasons that he doesn't swear is he like associates it with like the radical left and like socialists and stuff like that. And I found that to be very weird. Like, I mean, you do you. You feel how you feel, you know. I'm not going to hate on that. But it had me thinking for ages, and it's still stuck with me. Like why do we associate swearing with like socialists? You know, like why would socialists swear so much? You know, is it because they're like, you know, on the forefront, you know, like groundbreaking things, like, you know, pulling away from the norms of society, and, you know, it is because, you know, normal stuff like drinking tea for a time and not swearing and like wearing a tie and stuff like that, like they're throwing it all off, you know, they're like, have your fucking capitalism and you're fucking not saying fuck, and like, you know, certain situations. Like, is that what that is? Like, I feel like one of the reasons I swear so much is because in my whole life everyone has sworn like a shit ton. Like my dad, I think, you know, despite being one of the most conservative people in my life, I would say, is also the one that swears the most. And probably in my life generally, soldiers like him, you know, are the ones that swear the most and are also probably the most conservative. So I feel like I don't understand that. That just tickled me. Okay. Number 8, do you spend too much money on shoes? No, I don't like shoes. I have like about 3 pairs of shoes. That's fine by me. Okay, number 9. What is the worst book you've ever read? I'm gonna say Go Ask Alice by Anonymous, right? Anyone who was ever forced to read this book as a teenager, please let me know, okay? My friend Tori was forced by her mother to read this book, and I think we're in the 6th, 7th grade, something like that. And she said, it's horrendous, it's hideous, I hate it, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't read it at the time. I was like, ooh, your mom gave you homework, burn, you know. But then I read it as an adult recently, like a couple of years ago. And it's basically, the idea is this teenager, like, gets into these, like, gateway drugs of, like, pot. Other stuff that, you know, it's definitely not really gateway shit. But it's sort of like, then she just spiraled on, like, the things that made her, like, carry on in her spiral to, like, get worse and worse and worse and end up as, like, a homeless prostitute, like, begging heroin off the road, you know? Like, all of these jumps were crazy. They didn't make any sense. Like, why would you do that and then do that? That's dumb. It's as if the person who's writing this has no idea how drugs work. And it does turn out that Anonymous is just, like a Mormon church person. Like, she's like, big in, like, the Mormon church or something. And she wrote it for her kids to, like, I don't know, beg them off being druggies, like, to make them not want to be druggies. But, like, I doubt it worked, to be honest, unless these kids were, like, the dumbest kids, or, like, kids who have no idea how, like, basic social shit works. It was terrible. It was the worst book ever. Okay, number 10. Are you a homebody or are you more adventurous? I think the answer to this one just depends on the time of year, to be honest. Like, January, homebody as shit, y'all. It's cold outside. It's looking cold as shit. People keep phoning me. They're like, babe, let's go get food. I'm like, say no. Unless you want to come here and have food. Because what's happening out there in the, like, gray, foggy, freezing cold situation, that's a no for me. You know, I'm not leaving. But in, you know, other parts of the year, nice parts, you know, yeah, let's go out. Let's do stuff. You know, let's go to Glasgow for the weekend. Why not? I've heard it's great. You know, it just sort of depends on the time. Where the fuck am I? Oh, number 11. Do you take naps? I think, I think that's the same answer. It depends on the time of year. Like January, nap city, friends. Nap, 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 naps. Like Oprah, you get a nap, you get a nap. Like naps every day. But summer, like I'm trying to do loads of stuff, you know. I've got like people, like places to go, people to see. Like I'm trying to fit too many things in one day. There's no time for naps, you know. And why would I want to? I'm like pumped to go out and like do stuff, you know. Number 12. Have you ever been to Minnesota, the greatest state in the union? I think this is David Murphy is from Minnesota, so that's what he said. And no, I've never been to Minnesota. And honestly, I have no reason to go. I've been to nearly every state in the union, including Alaska and Hawaii. But for some reason, Minnesota is like a hole. It's like a hole in my repertoire of places. And I think the main reason is no army bases. Like I'm pretty sure there are no army bases there. Like I can look, but like they might have other kinds, like US Air Force bases or like National Guard or something. But I'm almost certain they have no US Army bases, and that's like a big indicator for a state where I've been. Either that or states that are in between states with Army bases, like when I moved as a kid from Fort Devens in Massachusetts to Fort Carson in Colorado. We went through a bunch, you know, stopped at Hershey Park in Pennsylvania, that sort of thing. So because Minnesota, no bases, also not really on the way to anywhere, you know, I've not been there, and probably never will do. You know, which is sort of sad, but also, you know. Okay, number 13. Have you ever tried to emulate someone? And, emulate someone. Like, obviously, you know. I mean, who hasn't? Like, I can't think of anyone. Okay, so, I can't think of anyone specifically who I've tried to emulate, but I will say this. I never know what the fuck is going on, okay? 100% of the time. I'm surrounded by people who seem to be comfortable with where they are and what they're doing and where they're going, and seem to have some sort of like comfortable level of knowledge of what is going on around them, you know, like they understand, you know, whereas me, you know, in the store, at the school gate, you know, just generally on the road, like I have no idea what the fuck is going on. And for that reason, I get by watching everyone else and just doing what the fuck they do, okay? Like, I think when I do like job interviews and shit like that, where you've got to like talk honestly about like your skills, like your strengths and weaknesses, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is one of the things I say. Like, my ability to go into a situation where I have zero knowledge and to come out of that situation successfully, like that's one of my skills, you know? And I sort of think of it as like, I have honed my ability to glean information from the people around me by just years and years and years of being surrounded by people who know what they're doing while I myself know nothing. Do you know what I mean? So the answer to number 13 is, have you ever tried to emulate someone? Yes, literally everyone, every fucking day, because I have no idea what the fuck's going on. Okay, number 14. What is the worst food you've ever eaten? Fuck, this one's hard as well. Okay, I need a minute. Okay, so I can't think of a food that I ate that was absolutely fucking terrible. However, does drinking my dad's spit can on accident count? Right, so my dad used to do dipping, like chewing tobacco, you know, like where you sort of like take it out of the thing and it's like, looks like a bit like clumped up dirt, and you like stick it in your lip and you sort of suck on it or whatever. My dad used to do that, he doesn't now. When I was a kid, you have to spit it out, so we used to have like these cans or like whatever he was using at the minute, and he'd spit his spit and like tobacco and stuff into the can, and you'd have to sort of like go around and make sure that whatever can you're drinking from or whatever is not that can. And I think I went basically my whole life without doing it ever, except for one time. I did actually drink like the spit can, and it was literally the worst thing that's ever been in my mouth. And like literally my whole life, it was the worst experience. I think I have PTSD from accidentally drinking my dad's spit can. Okay, 15. Do you enjoy bars? What kind? Are you or have you ever been a regular at one? And I do enjoy bars. Yes, thank you. I'm a regular at several bars. There's my two near my house. There's two pubs near me, one with food and one without food. I'm regulars at those. Also, there are a few gay bars in town where I am also a regular. Okay, Number 16, have you ever been hungover? Oh, I was watching Bert's one of this and he's like, I think it's maybe cultural, this question, because I literally don't know anyone who's never been hungover. And I think I think I've got like a similar situation. Like, I can't think of anyone who's not been hungover ever. But me, yeah, every weekend pretty much hungover. I think now in my 30s, you know, I've got like a better hang on it, to where a lot like my hangovers are rarely just like, you know, a headache, you know, or just feeling really grim, you know. But like in my youth, I've had some doozies, and I know pretty much everyone I know, they also have like stories of doozies. Like in where I used to work, there was like a Christmas party and it always happened on a Wednesday, but there was always free wine for some like reason, I don't know. So then it'd be like on the Thursday, everyone just like coming into work super hungover, really rough. God, like one person like puked in the bin, you know, just like type in like this, and then was just like and then just like put it back. Because I think like I went downstairs to wee that same day and just found like 9 people like all like in a circle eating sausage rolls, like not talking to each other, just like looking down, like at the same table but like not with each other, you know. Anyway, yes, I've been hungover. Number 17 is, when was the last time you laughed out loud while reading? I think this is probably Seth Rogen's book, like his memoir, his autobiography or whatever that just came out. Yearbook, I think is what it's called. And it's so fucking funny. I love that guy. There was like this one part, I think I already said in another video, where he was like trying to get drugs off a guy on a nudist beach, and he was wearing like a fanny pack and he had like his drugs and his money in it, but his like weenus was just sort of like sticking out the bottom of the fanny pack. Or like this other part where he was like on a plane and he'd had like a really spicy burger and was also really high, and people thought he was having a seizure. And he's like, oh my god, am I having a seizure? Anyway, okay, number 18, how would you label or describe yourself politically? Oh god, I just need to wee. I need to go wee now. I've got 9 questions left. This shit, like, give me a sec, you know. Okay, how would you label yourself politically? So in David Murphy's thing, when he was on about like his inspiration for this question, like he was saying like people don't want to be labeled and they don't like to sort of like attribute labels to themselves politically, but like everyone really can be labeled, you know, if they're like honest with themselves. I can feel that. I can feel that. Like, it's hard to pin yourself down for you, but for someone else, it's probably way easier to pin you down, you know. I think probably for me, it's just left leaning, you know, like progressive leaning. Like I'm a citizen of both the US and the UK, so I vote like in both places. And the US, I vote Democrat, you know, definitely, because there's only the two. But in the UK there's sort of more of them and it gets a bit complicated. Like I was voting Labour for a while, but then with Brexit they just sort of fell apart. I don't understand why exactly. Like I guess I do understand why. Like Brexit just like annihilated them and they started to go a bit crazy and fall apart, and they just sort of pissed me off. And I think they sort of lost me a bit. Like I'm not gone forever, I don't think, but I've been sort of shopping around, and like Plaid Cymru, this sort of like Party of Wales, is sort of like, it's like speaking to me sort of more and more. Like it's also left leaning like Labour, and they've got like a deal now in the Senate, in Welsh government, to sort of work together, Plaid and Labour, on sort of like similar things in both of their agendas, and there's quite a lot of similar things. But Plaid is sort of more focused on sort of getting more power for Wales, and you know, as I'm thinking more about that, more like in the pandemic and stuff like that, like how well the Welsh government has dealt with the pandemic versus like the Tories in London and stuff like that. Like also, you know, Wales is more sort of, is like quite different politically. It's coming up on like 100 years of Labour dominance in Wales, whereas like England is like more likely to be like quite conservative, stuff like that. Anyway, I feel like, you know, more power given to Wales to govern itself, you know, why not? That seems, you know, cool. Like, I'm American in the first place, you know, in the first instance, and, you know, federalism speaks to me, you know, strong local governments, like, I'd be down for that, I'm for that. So, I think at the minute, I'm gonna keep voting Plaid, but But I'm not sure I want to ride it all the way to independence, to be honest, because I'm not sure I'm down for that. So maybe when Labour sort of pulls themselves together, like, I don't know, like I don't even want to talk about the Democratic Party back home. Like, what are the other options? Okay, I can't go to the Republican Party. Okay, like Green Party, stuff like that. Like, they're not strong enough, even in the least, you know. Like, I just gotta stick with them fuckers. Like, I don't even want to talk about that. Anyway, the answer to how would you label or describe yourself politically? Left-leaning, progressive-leaning. Thank you. Number 19. What was the last movie you watched? Okay, Spud and I, in our fort over the weekend, we watched Transformia. You know, like Hotel Transylvania, these ones, I think it's like the third or fourth one. And it's one where this like ray gun turns all the monsters into humans and all the humans into monsters. It was amazing. I loved it. Okay, number 20. Do you want kids? Do you wish you had kids? If you have kids, give a piece of advice. I do have kids. I have the one, Spud. And I would say a piece of advice generally I give to most people is that everything is a phase. And I know that's like, you know, it doesn't have good connotations for things like, you know, being gay or like being trans or something. Like, if your kid's gay, it's not a phase. But like, you know, I would say everything else generally is a phase. You know, like, are they being little shitheads? You know, suddenly they are just shitheads. Calm down. It's a phase. You know, are they being delightful? They've never been this delightful. You know, be worried. It's a phase. You know, they don't eat food. It's a phase. You know, they won't sleep. It's a phase. It's all just a fucking phase. Like, don't worry. Don't get complicit. You know, stay on top of that shit. But keep it in mind. You know. Anyway, number 21. Do you get along with your siblings? Shit. Okay. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be real with y'all on this, okay? Like, I was thinking of skipping this one, to be honest. Or, like, saying, like, some bullshit. Like, I feel like BookTube, you know, it can be lighthearted and funny, you know, but also it can be real, you know? We're like, you know, sharing realness with each other, which is also something I appreciate. So I'm going to answer this question honestly, right? So my sibling, my only sibling, my sister, Kareen, she died like about a year ago. It's coming up on a year now, yeah, like end of February 2021. And like, we had so much beef for like years. Like, why? Like, why all this beef? Like, why all this fucking beef about nothing? You know, like, and you always think in your mind, like, people who are close to you, people you love in your family or whatever, like, if you're not talking to them, there's always a point at which you feel like you will eventually be talking to them. Like, you never like get fucked off at someone and not talk to them and then like put it in your mind like, I'm never talking to them again. You know, like, you think at some point you'll eventually be cool, you know, and you think, oh, like, I'm not talking to this girl now, okay, but when we're cool, we'll do this, or, you know, this will go down, or, you know, like, it will be different, it will be like this, and then, you know, she died, and like, we'll never have that now. All that beef, it's just stuck. It's just cemented beef. Like, and it's like nothing more heartbreaking than like having beef with someone, you know, and then not being able to just sort that beef out. Was it even important? No, it was all bullshit. Like, we were different. We were so different, but the things we had in common were way more than things we had different. And like, why were we so stupid? You know? Like, I remember, so she grew up with my grandma, or our grandma, and I grew up with our dad. So we didn't, you know, live with each other all the time. But whenever we came together, whenever we like visited each other, like, she was always looking out for me. She was always on my side. You know, I learned so much from her about just like being a woman in this world. Do you know what I mean? And like, when, like, now that she's gone, that's all I can think of. All I can think of is like her being on my side and helping me and like being my big sister and like the best big sister, you know? I can't even remember what the fuck we had beef about, to be honest. Like, so, public service announcement. Anyone who answers this question to say you don't get on with your siblings, okay, phone them. Fucking call them up right now and say you're sorry, okay? Because ain't nothing in this life is that big a deal. Do you know what I mean? Okay. Public service announcement over. Okay, Okay, number 22. What is a book you have serious issues with but love? Oh my god. This is probably some sort of 90s book. Innit? Like, all these like 90s books are horrendous now and say horrendous things, but oh, I love them so much anyway. Like, let me think of one. I can't think of one. Give me a minute. I don't know. I honestly can't think of one thing, but I think it's probably like a 1990s thing. Like they say, you know, really on PC stuff, and you think, oh fuck, like they shouldn't have said that. Like, oh, that hits hard, you know, in a bad way. But also, like, it was the 90s, you know. Like, you know, we weren't as good back then. I don't know. It's probably something like that. Okay, number 23. What is your favorite theme song to a movie and or a TV show? So when I was watching other people do this tag, I immediately thought of, you know, like bum ba na 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 na. She was working for a bridal shop in Flushing, Queens, till her boyfriend kicked her out in one of those crushing scenes. What was she to do? Where was she to go? She was out on her fanny. So over the bridge from Flushing to the Sheffield's door, she was there to sell makeup with the father's side. She had style, she had flair, she was there. That's how she became the nanny. Okay, I won't force you to listen to any more of that, but I fully 100% think my favorite theme song ever is a theme song to The Nanny. Who's with me? Okay, who's with me on this? Oh my god, almost to the end. Okay, number 24. Do you like your job? If you switched careers, what would you do? So, I don't hate my job. I don't like, you know, I can wake up every day and go, oh my god, I hate my job. You know, like, it's not like that. But I wouldn't say I'm in love with my job. It's just sort of like, it's a bit monotonous, you know, mundane sort of stuff. And, you know, it's a lot of stuff to do on a computer. Like, I'm not really into it. But if I had to pick another career, I wouldn't be able to pick something specific to do. Because I've learned now, in my 30s, it's taken me a long time. I've learned, just because you like an activity doesn't mean you'll like it as a job. Mainly because I'm like a sort of whims type person. I'm a person who does things based on mood. And if I have to do the dishes, okay, I hate doing dishes. I'm not going to be happy with that. But if I have to do painting when I'm not in the mood to do painting, it's literally just as bad. Like, generally, I enjoy painting. And I would say painting is a really fun and awesome thing to do. If I'm not in the mood to paint and I have to be forced to paint anyway, I would say it's just as bad as fucking doing dishes for the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean? So I want a job where I don't have to do anything I don't want to at any time. Do you know what I mean? And for that, I think I need to be an independently wealthy lady of leisure. It just has to be like that. That's the only way I'll be happy. And I've come to see that about myself now. Like, I wouldn't want to be like bone idle, you know, and just sit around because I get bored. But I'd then be able to pursue the activity I want at the time that I want it. Do you know what I mean? Like, wake up and do painting, you know? Oh, this is amazing. I love to paint. You know what I want to do? Paint. Just paint all day, you know? Wake up the next day and be like, oh, painting, no, not having that, you know? Like, oh, just reading. Reading is what I'll do today, you know? That sort of thing. Okay. Number 25. What is something you love about the city you live in? Okay, Cardiff, Wales. Gorgeous. I actually really like Cardiff. Loads of people bag on it, okay? But I think it's amazing. Like, it is a relatively small city for the UK in general. You know, like Bristol next door is like a sort of small-ish city for England. And even it's bigger than Cardiff. Like, I don't know, like the population or whatever. Like, maybe I can put something up. But the population size isn't that big. It's not a massive city. And for that reason, it's got a lot of like the safety benefits and sort of like closeness and things of a smaller town. But because it's the capital city of Wales, you know, it's the capital city of one of the 4 pieces of the United Kingdom, it gets a lot of capital city treatment. So it has its own ballet, it has its own opera, it has its own, you know, football stadium, it has its own rugby stadium, you know, it has all these concert venues, it has its own like government buildings, it has its own museum, you know, like a national museum, stuff like that. It has all of the benefits of a small town, but all of the benefits of a big city, like a big, you know, cosmopolitan cultured city as well. And it's like a weird sort of connection that you don't really get anywhere else. It's like a unique thing, really. And I really enjoy it. And I'm glad that my kid's growing up here as well, because we don't have to worry so much about, you know, her being in danger and blah, 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 because it's, you know, I mean, knock on wood, but it's relatively safe because it's quite small. But also I don't have to worry about her, you know, being starved for culture and like, you know, not being able to go to plays and like operas and stuff like that because we're too far away. You know, it's right on our doorstep, you know? Anyway, last one. We finally fucking made it. I don't know how long this video is, to be honest, because I've had to stop it and start it in Wii and stuff like that. But number 26, who is your celebrity crush? And I'm gonna say, for a very long time, it has been Joe Lando, okay? You know this guy? He plays Sully in Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. And I've loved this show since I was about, you know, 8, 9, 10 years old. Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. That's my bag, right? Sully, he is like everything I wanted my husband to be in my whole life, you know? Like, he is like the measure of a man for me. So, you know, I'm still down for that. But in his like current form, he's old. So I've had to move on as well now. And I feel like I'm sort of leaning more towards Sam Heughan. You know, like Jamie Fraser in Outlander. Like maybe, let me find you a photo here of him. Okay, this guy here, this one. Can you see? Him. Is it coming out? Can you see? Okay, that's the end. That's the end of the questions. I apologize if this video is crazy long. I have to tag some people now to do it. I don't know who's done it already, to be honest. Like, I know Silje did it in Bert. Maybe I'll do Karen at Roving Reader. She like she's on my mind recently because she just asked for like questions for a Q&A to do her like 1,000 subscribers thing. So I'll throw this at her, you know, because this is kind of like a Q&A type thing. Like, also, I don't know, who do I want to know like more about? I don't know, maybe like Amanda, Reading and Writing Life. Like, I'll link those two below. You guys can like do it or not do it, because this is a bit of a hell of a tag, okay? So if you don't want to like jump into this heavy shit, don't worry about it. Anyone who wants to do it instead, like, consider yourselves tagged by me. Please do it, and then let me know that you're gonna do it, because I was enjoying watching these. I think I'm gonna go by and like try to find more and watch those because they were super interesting. Just some of them are super long, obviously. Okay, thank you for watching. Please let me know if you have any thoughts at all, comments, bits of info, and I will see you next week. Okay, bye bye bye.